Hi, I'm Shelley Yarbrough, and this is your video on moving from the article to the summary. We want to come up with a summary outline, and I have some questions sometimes about how do we get that accomplished, especially with the longer articles. So I thought I would do this. We're using a shorter article out of your textbook, so if you haven't read it yet, you want to go through and go find it. It is called We Are Not Created Equal in Every Way by Joan Ryan. In the 11th edition textbook, you'll find it on page 52, but certainly you can look in that index and find it very easily. Once you've read it, this will make a lot more sense. Basically what I've done, and if you have it open while I'm going over this, it will help you, is I've taken, as I mentioned on the website, I've taken each paragraph or maybe two paragraphs and paraphrased the bottom line in my own words. So here, as you can see, paragraph 1 and 2, I just combined them together. And my note is, 8-year-old Frederica Kiefer, mom is suing the San Francisco Ballet School, and she was rejected based on body type. All right? And then I moved on to paragraph 3. And all I wrote for paragraph 3 was, this can cause eating disorders. And I move on down the list until I've done every single paragraph. Sometimes I combine paragraphs. That's entirely up to your discretion. All right? So feel free to do that when it makes sense. But basically that's what you want, a phrase or a couple sentences that summarizes each paragraph or every few paragraphs. So once you've got that, then I go back and I step back and I look at all of this. Now this seems like this is not a very exciting article, right? It's not a very exciting paper, right? The summary, you're just summarizing. But it's a critical skill while I'm at this point. College requires a lot of reading. If you haven't figured that out yet, you probably will very, very shortly. And paraphrasing as you read is a fantastic way to make this process go a lot faster. In the long run, eventually, someone's going to expect you to know this material. And when you're looking at an entire chapter all over again from start to finish, that can be overwhelming. However, if you've taken notes in the margin like this, and as you can see my notes, I don't know if you can see this, my notes, I just write them right there in the margin. If you want to, you can use the sticky notes, the small sticky notes, and then you can just pull them out when you're done. I use pencil. I don't mind writing in my book. But you highlight, you mark in the margin, and basically when you're ready to study for a test or write a paper, you don't have to go back and read all of that material. You can go just deal with your highlights and your marginal notes to find what you need. So it makes the process a little more manageable for you. So that's basically what we've got here. We've got my marginal notes. So I look at all my margin notes and I say to myself, how can I group these? And what I decided was to use the letters B for body image and the letter A for age, because those seem to be the two areas that my notes fall into. So these are all notes that have to do with B, body image, and these notes all have to do with A, age. Now the highlighted, and I can't figure this out until I've read it and made all my notes, but when I go back and look, I say to myself, I'm going to have to find out what the article author's thesis is, because it's right here on my grade sheet on the introduction. So the thesis is simply, what's the point? What is the message? What's the bottom line message that this writer wants to communicate to the readers? So I decided that this note here, 8-year-olds training for adult careers equals pressure. Too much pressure and they can't handle it. I think that is Miss Ryan's bottom line comment. And remember, it's got nothing to do with my opinion. In this class, we move from the summary, which involves 0 of your opinion, all the way to gradually more and more of your opinion until we get to the argument, which is entirely organized around your opinion. So hang in there. Your opinion will come, but it's not this paper. You want to leave it out of the summary essay. So I highlighted that because I said I'm going to need to list that in my introduction. All right, and again, write your outline with your summary essay grade sheet beside you. You can print that right off of the web page. So let's see how we move from this to an outline. All right, so all I did was take my grade sheet and said to myself, well, I know I'm going to need these things. Let's just list them in my introduction section of my outline. So this is my first section of my outline. Author's thesis, all I did was copy that. Children should not train for adult careers. The pressure is too great. Title, we're not created equal in every way, author Joan Ryan. Purpose, I'm saying the purpose of this article is do what's best for your child. That may not always be the case. People sometimes get that confused. It seems that Joan Ryan is trying to say people get that confused, their own desires confused with their children's desires, and that seems to be what she's getting at. I don't know that as I'm reading. I don't know that till I'm done doing all of my marginal notes, okay? So now we have to decide who is the audience. The best way to say this to yourself is, and please don't tell me the audience is people in general. It's never people in general. Someone's a specific kind of person needs to hear this message, this purpose. So who specifically needs to hear this message? I decided to write parents of young dancers. Seems to be geared specifically to dancing in this article. So I decided that parents of young dancers need to be the ones reading this so that they can learn this lesson, this message she's trying to communicate. Another article might be geared toward the children. Another article might be geared toward, and you may think it's geared more toward the dance company. That's okay too. It just needs to be clearly stated in the introduction. What is the purpose and who needs to hear it, okay? Issues and controversies. This is where you bring in things that exist in our world today that relate to the topic. So I might mention eating disorders, that there's no legal protection in the legal system for these kinds of kids. Gymnastics, we hear a lot about the gymnasts, the pressures that gymnasts go through when they're very, very young at keeping a light body weight and so physically fit. Is it too much? And so again, I'm not interjecting my opinion. I'm just bringing in what of this world relates to this issue. Stages of thought, that is, they say a bad joke. Good writing is you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you say it, and then when you're done, you tell them what you just told them. I know, it's a bad joke, but it's kind of the way it works. You list the points you're going to make in your introduction, then you keep them in that order in your body, and then guess what? In your conclusion, you got to list them again. Okay, list, list, list. So here's my list. Remember back on my notes, I decided that body image issues and age issues were the thing for me. So those are my 2 stages of thought. This is a very short article. You may end up with more stages of thought. That's okay. Those are just my 2 groupings is all that is. So moving on down the outline, we have my body of my paper, okay, which will end up being perhaps 2 paragraphs, okay. 1 paragraph on the body image issues, and all of my marginal notes that went with the B will go there. 1 paragraph on age issues, and all of my margin notes that went with age go there. So now I'm seeing 2 clear body paragraphs. And then, of course, the conclusion. What do? Remember, list those stages of thought 1 more time. Mention the purpose, and you want at least 5 sentences in your conclusion. So anything else you do beyond that, as long as you don't state your personal opinion, is fine. Also, don't forget that works cited page, all right? It's just going to be a work cited page this time, no S, because you're only quoting from 1 article. But you do need to quote from the article somewhere in the paper. So don't forget to do that. Remember that works cited page is a page all by itself at the end of the summary. So good luck, and feel free to message me if you have any questions. Thanks.